hip hop's huge. It's very, very important. It's important as a kind of youth expression, principally or originally within the African American community, urban communities in New York and LA and others. But this is a cultural form, right? A type of music, but also a type of protest, a mode of protest that has been very, very important to the shaping of the current generation, I think, of young activists, particularly within the African American community, but then much more broadly within other communities of color and white communities. I mean, certainly there's a huge audience for hip hop among white folks. I happen to be one of those people. I grew up on it, was shaped by it. And I think that it's important to study. It's important to study anything that has a major cultural influence. It would be like, not studying the Bible. Or not study, I mean, not to equate hip hop with the Bible, but in terms of the sort of major influence that these things have, it'd be like not studying television, right, or rock and roll. We study television and rock and roll because they shaped the cultures within which they emerged, and hip hop is no different than that. Hip hop also offers us, I think, an interesting lens to understand the evolution or devolution, some might argue, of politics and protest among urban youth and within the black community. I mean, obviously, hip hop has created enormous political tensions in our broad culture in terms of trying to police lyrics and censor certain kinds of music and certain kinds of artists, the kinds of things that are advocated as part of protests, shooting police or rising up against the man or whatever it happens to be within hip hop. There's all sorts of articulations of protest that have really riled folks over the years. But it also has created, I think, a way for us to understand the tensions within generations in the black community. I mean, this is, the use of the N-word, right? And we have a corollary, tension within the gay community over the word queer. Right? It's not the same thing, but I think it provides a point of comparison, which is instructive and important. That the older generation of the black community doesn't want to listen to the N-word, and certainly doesn't want its children and grandchildren using a word that was used to describe them as a way to mark them as different and therefore subject to discrimination and exclusion and segregation. And I think the same thing can be said of the word queer. Older LGBT folks, who are from the Stonewall generation, who understand that struggle and what that word meant to them, are very, very concerned about the use of that word among young people and among people my age even, in the younger generations of the LGBT community. And so I think, we're far afield from your original question about hip hop. But I think any time you have a kind of form of cultural expression, particularly a form of cultural expression that emanates from youth, that emanates from the bottom, that emanates from the margins, it's important for us to understand its dimensions and also to understand its influence. Right now, one could never argue that in 2009 hip hop is a marginal art form. Right? We can debate all along whether or not hip-hop died with Tupac or what have you. I mean, I joke with my students that they take my course because it's American protest literature from Tom Paine to Tupac, and we look at all sorts of protests from the Founding Fathers all the way to now. And I always joke when I start my Tupac lecture, I say, you all are taking this course because you think that hip-hop started with Tupac. I'm teaching this course because I think hip-hop died with Tupac. And they all groan, and they're very angry, and often I'll wear a Yankees jersey or a Yankees hat because I'm very East Coast. And so they get sort of, and I create this sort of tension in the room, which is sort of a fake tension. They understand that I'm joking. But I do think that they're hungry for it. They're hungry to understand how this form that shaped the way that they understand the world and the kind of music that they listen to and the ways that they protest or seek to protest. They're interested in knowing how it fits into this longer tradition, and so I like it.